We are focused on the speech that President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris gave today in Georgia. And the reality is he gave this today, finally, a full-throated call to end the filibuster to pass voting rights because of the level of pressure that's been applied. Because Republicans have already passed 34 different laws in various states as a result of this. And just so you understand what we're talking about here, Ari Berman tweeted this just today. Give me a second. He talked about, go to my iPad, please. He said breaking, let's see if I can go ahead and get this going. Give me 1 second, y'all. You should see it now pop up. There we go. As Biden speaks, North Carolina State Court upholds extreme gerrymandered maps, including U.S. House map giving GOP 71 to 78% of the seats in state Trump won with 49.9% of the vote. This is exactly the kind of partisan and racial gerrymandering Freedom to Vote Act would block. What we're dealing with here, and I need to walk people through this to understand what we're talking about, okay, is that what Republicans are doing all across this country, they are passing various laws, not just to restrict voting, but the cutting of drop boxes. In Georgia, they are cutting from 111 to less than 30 drop boxes. Oh my goodness, they're not secure. What they also did in Georgia, what they did was they actually passed the law that said that, oh, we got to protect the boxes, which means that the drop boxes are only open when the polls are open. That's the point of the drop boxes. So if you can't go in and vote during the day, you drop your ballot off. What they also did, folks, was they also passed the law that where they said that if we lived in Georgia, and my dad wants to vote by mail-in ballot, and he says, hey, son, drop my ballot off. I can't. He has to physically drop his ballot off or it's against the law. And there are so many other things that are in the Freedom to Vote Act. Let me know when y'all have Biden speaking about any of the filibuster. This is what people have to understand. So this is what he said today in Georgia.
Can change the outcome. Sadly, the United States Senate, designed to be the world's greatest deliberative body, has been rendered a shell of its former self. It gives me no satisfaction in saying that as an institutionalist, as a man who was honored to serve in the Senate. But as an institutionalist, I believe that the threat to our democracy is so grave that we must find a way to pass these voting rights bills. Debate them, vote, let the majority prevail. And if that bare minimum is blocked, we have no option but to change the Senate rules, including getting rid of the filibuster for this. You know, last year, if I'm not mistaken, the filibuster was used 154 times. The filibuster has been used to generate compromise in the past, promote some bipartisanship, but it's also used to obstruct, including especially obstruct civil rights and voting rights. And when it was used, senators traditionally used to have to stand and speak at their desk for however long it took. And sometimes it took hours. And when they sat down, if no one immediately stood up, anyone could call for a vote or the debate ended. But that doesn't happen today. Senators no longer even have to speak one word. Filibuster is not used by Republicans to bring the Senate together, but to pull it further apart. Filibuster is weaponized and abused. While the state legislative assaults on voting rights is simple, all you need in your House and Senate is a pure majority. In the United States Senate, it takes a supermajority, 60 votes, even to get a vote, instead of 50 to protect the right to vote. State legislators can pass anti-voting laws with simple majorities. If they can do that, then the United States Senate should be able to protect voting rights by a simple majority. Today, I'm making it clear, to protect our democracy, I support changing the Senate rules, whichever way they need to be changed to prevent a minority of senators from blocking action on voting rights. When it comes to protecting majority rule in America, the majority should rule in the United States Senate. I make this announcement with careful deliberation, recognizing the fundamental right to vote is a right from which all other rights flow. And I make it with an appeal to my Republican colleagues, to those Republicans who believe in the rule of law, restore the bipartisan tradition of voting rights. The people who restored it, who abided by it in the past were Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush. They all supported the Voting Rights Act. Don't let the Republican Party morph into something else. Restore the institution of the Senate the way it was designed to be. Senate rules were just changed to raise the debt ceiling so we wouldn't renege on our debt for the first time in our history, prevent an economic crisis. That was done by a simple majority. As Senator Warnock said a few weeks ago in a powerful speech, if we change the rules to protect the full faith and credit of the United States, we should be able to change the rules to protect the heart and soul of our democracy. He was right. In the days that followed John Lewis's death, there was an outpouring of praise and support across the political spectrum. But as we stand here today, it isn't enough just to praise his memory. We must translate eulogy into action. We need to follow John Lewis's footsteps. We need to support the bill in his name. Just a few days ago, we talked about, up in the Congress and the White House, the event coming up shortly to celebrate Dr. King's birthday. And Americans of all stripes will praise him for the content of his character. But as Dr. King's family said before, it's not enough to praise their father. They even said, on this holiday, don't celebrate his birthday unless you're willing to support what he lived for and what he died for. The next few days, when these bills come to a vote, will mark a turning point in this nation's history. We will choose. The issue is, will we choose democracy over autocracy, light over shadows, justice over injustice? I know where I stand. I will not yield. I will not flinch. I will defend the right to vote, our democracy against all enemies, foreign and, yes, domestic. And the question is, where will the institution of the United States Senate stand? Every senator, Democrat, Republican, and Independent, will have to declare where they stand, not just for the moment, but for the ages. Will you stand against voter suppression? Yes or no? That's the question they'll answer. Will you stand against election subversion? Yes or no? Will you stand for democracy? Yes or no? Here's one thing every senator, every American should remember. History has never been kind to those who've sided with voter suppression over voters' rights. And it will even be less kind for those who side with election subversion. So I ask every elected official in America, how do you want to be remembered? At consequential moments in history, they present a choice. Do you want to be on the side of Dr. King or George Wallace? Do you want to be on the side of John Lewis or Bull Connor? Do you want to be on the side of Abraham Lincoln or Jefferson Davis? This is the moment to decide. to defend our elections, to defend our democracy. And if you do that, you will not be alone. That's because the struggle to protect voting rights has never been born by one group alone. We saw freedom riders of every race, leaders of every faith marching arm in arm, and yes, Democrats and Republicans in Congress of the United States and in the presidency. I did not live the struggles of Douglas, Tubman, King, Lewis, Goodman, Cheney, Swerner, countless others, known and unknown. I did not walk in the shoes of generations of students who walked these grounds, but I walked other grounds because I'm so damn old I was there as well. They think I'm kidding, man. Seems like yesterday, the first time I got arrested. Anyway. But their struggles here, they were the ones that opened my eyes as a high school student in the late 50s and early 60s. They got me more engaged in the work of my life. And what we're talking about today is rooted in the very idea of America. The idea, Ponder, who graduated from Clark, Atlanta, captured in a single word. She was a teacher and a librarian who was also an unyielding champion of voting rights. In 1963, when I was just starting college and university, after registering voters in Mississippi, she was pulled off a bus, arrested and jailed, where she was brutally beaten. In her cell, next to her, was Fannie Lou Hamer, who described the beating this way, and I quote, "I could hear the sounds of the licks and the horrible screams. They beat her. I don't know for how long. And after a while, she began to pray and ask God to have mercy on those people." And Nell Ponder's friends visited her the next day. Her face was badly swollen. She could hardly talk, but she managed to whisper one word: freedom.
Freedom. DeMario, just so folks who have no clue what's in the Freedom to Vote Act, y'all go to my iPad, please. This is what it says on the Senate website. The bill addresses voter registration and voting access, election integrity, security, redistricting, and campaign finance. Specifically, the bill expands voter registration, automatic and same-day registration, and voting access, vote by mail and early voting. It also limits removing voters from voter rolls. The bill establishes Election Day as a federal holiday. The bill declares that the right of a U.S. citizen to vote in any election for federal office shall not be denied or abridged because that individual has been convicted of a criminal offense unless at the time of the election such individual is serving a felony sentence. The bill establishes certain federal criminal offenses related to voting. In particular, the bill establishes a new criminal offense for conduct or attempted conduct to corruptly hinder, interfere with, or prevent another person from registering to vote or helping someone register to vote. Additionally, the bill sets forth provisions related to election and security, including by requiring states to conduct post-election audits for federal elections. The bill outlines criteria for congressional redistricting and generally prohibits mid-decade redistricting. The bill outlines criteria for congressional redistricting and generally prohibits mid-decade redistricting. Now, I love this here, y'all. This is the next one. Listen, the bill addresses campaign finance, including by expanding the prohibition on campaign spending by foreign nationals, requiring additional disclosure of campaign-related fundraising and spending, and requiring additional disclaimers regarding certain political advertising, and establishing an alternative campaign funding system for certain federal offices. DeMario, the reason Republicans are so dead set against ending the filibuster, and the reason why these 50 Democrats had better wake up, is because of what I said earlier with the Ari Berman tweet. Republicans are changing the laws where in Tennessee, they hold 7 of the 9 congressional districts. They are trying to break Nashville up into multiple parts so they can control 8 out of the 9. They have done this in Wisconsin, Georgia, Texas, Florida. We could go on and on and on. So what they are doing by controlling the state legislatures, they are going to use that power to ensure that if you're in a state, if 55 to 58, and sometimes if 60% of the people in that state vote a Democrat, they will always remain in control.
Yeah, absolutely, Roland. This is a very important show, and just appreciate you educating our community. You know, I would just say that was a pretty strong speech by President Biden. You know, each week I've been calling on this type of a speech. I've been saying the Democrats need to be stronger. And I've also said many times that it was not just Manchin and Sinema. It was other Democrats. And now that's coming to the forefront, and everybody's cards have been put on the table, and I'm appreciative of that. Look, Roland, as you've outlined so well, this is a crucial scenario for our people. If this does not happen, the Republicans, who we know are against Black people, they're against truth, they're against justice, they're against equity, they will submit themselves as the ruling party for generations to come. They will get a majority in the House, and it will be almost impossible for it to be broken based upon how they gerrymandered everything. Every possible tool that the president can use, and I'm not the president. I don't know what the tools are. I'm not the vice president. I don't know what the tools are. But whatever tool they have to go all in right now. And I like your idea, Roland, of calling those Democratic senators over one by one and talking to them, and then coming out and telling the media what they discussed and where are they on their commitment. So this is crucial for us as a people, not as Democrats, but as Black people, because we know the Republicans do not care about us. They want to subjugate us. They want to discriminate against us, and they don't care about the wrong side of history. All they care about is power, wealth, and access, period.
So folks, understand this. Today, there's an election in Florida to replace the late Congressman Al C. Hastings. And when the votes are counted tonight, that means that the Democrat is going to win that particular race. Okay, it's a special election, and then of course you have the election in November. That means that Democrats will have 222 votes in the House, and so this is Sheila Sherfilis McCormick. She is the candidate. Go to my iPad. This is the Washington Post piece. This is a photo of her. She is going to win, likely win tonight. All right. So there are 9 people who are running. So here's what the deal. They're going to have 222 votes to 212 Republicans. The seat of Devin Nunes Mustafa is the only one that is vacant. If you begin to study the numbers, and we always know that the incumbent president, this party loses seats during the midterm. So Democrats are already up against facing tremendous headwinds. But what people have to understand, if they are able to move out in Florida could potentially get rid of anywhere from 4 to 5 Democrats. Texas is looking to get rid of 2 to 3. Then you look at Ohio. Then you look at Tennessee going from picking up 1. So you start adding it up. The Republicans could literally change the lines, and they could pick up anywhere from 15 to 18 seats before a vote is even cast. Exactly. That guarantees they're going to be in the majority. And because they control the state legislature, you can't make any changes for 10 years. That means 5 elections. That means that they will control the House for the next decade.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is a long-term strategy that is now playing. And they understand that not only do they want to own and control the House and the Senate, of course, they want the presidency, they want the Supreme Court and all the judges that are there. And then, of course, moving past the trifecta is also making sure that you control all of the state houses or the majority of the state houses. So therefore, then you can hold on to power, as you said, for a decade. I would say that it's even longer than that, because if you're able to entrench in the ways that they are trying to do, and of course, all of this comes back to people actually being able to participate in a fair election. And that's why our conversation is so important around the filibuster and making sure that we're doing everything that we possibly can to make sure that we're protecting voting rights. So this is understanding that they have literally been focused on building a set of infrastructures and controlling those infrastructures around everything that happens inside of your life. The vote is tied to housing. It is tied to transportation. It is tied to jobs and where resources are going to go. It's tied to healthcare. It's tied to the environment. And they understand this. And we have been playing around flat-footed and not calling this out, not educating folks. And for the president, I appreciate the full-throated response that he gave today in supporting of voting rights. But I need him to continue that. I needed him to do it before. We talked about this. But now he has got to, for the amount of time that is remaining, he should be having fireside chats where he is bringing those folks who are part of the civil rights movement who fought to be able to vote. There should be conversations in front of the country literally every day or every evening. Let's say every evening, because after folks get off work. That's the type of set of commitment that's going to be necessary to make sure that we even have a chance. The other part of it is that, you got to put all your chips in this moment, because if you don't get this, all the other stuff kind of falls to the wayside. The other part of it is also you got to call in all those folks in business and industry who are saying that they support Black Lives Matter and all these other types of things. And they've also got to place pressure on the individuals, especially on the Democratic side of the equation, that we expect you to do the right thing. And that if you don't, there will be repercussions for you not doing the right thing. Now, some folks will say, well, Mustafa, maybe you're taking it too far there. The Republicans are very serious about what they do, and they have no problem in utilizing leverage and pressure to make sure that they get what they want out of the scenario and out of the sets of opportunities that are in front of them. And if Democrats are not willing to do that, then you're going to get what you get.
Xavier, just so people, again, who need to understand here. Folks like Senator Joe Manchin, Senator Kristen Sinema say, oh, this is going to break the Senate. It's not going to fix the Senate. And they fear that if one day they are in the minority in the Senate, that they won't be able to use the filibuster to stop bills. Well, that's all contingent upon whether Republicans are going to actually honor that. They can change the rule anytime they want to. This is what you're about to hear is Senator Mitch McConnell talking about ending the filibuster in 2022. But the second video is what he said in 2017 when it came to the Supreme Court.
When I was majority leader, some of my own party urged me to break the Senate for our own party's short-term gain. My answer was a simple word: no. We need to restore the norms and traditions of the Senate and get past this unprecedented partisan filibuster. Therefore, I raise a point of order that the vote on cloture under the precedent set on November 21st, 2013 is a majority vote on all nominations. When I was majority leader, some of my...
So right there, Xavier, the Republicans put two individuals on the United States Supreme Court by a simple majority vote. Lifetime appointments. Supreme Court justices rule on all matters in the country. They are the final authority. So if you're Democrats, you're putting yourself in a situation where you may never be in control of the House or the Senate, and you're trying to protect something that you actually supported just a couple of weeks ago to raise the debt ceiling.
Roland, until this nation recognizes we can't center what we do based on white conservative Republicans and the racist animus that is bubbling in the country, we won't be able to move forward. And the fear that the Democrats have had over a segment of the population that they couldn't win and waited for a year to act, when the Republicans, when they know they have the rules on their side, they're going to act. When they have the position in their power, they're going to act. They're going to manipulate whatever rules they need to be able to do to be able to make sure they are implementing their plan, which is a long-term strategy, by the way. The response that you're seeing from the Republicans now, they're just part of that strategy. That's part of them making sure that they're pushing, kicking the can down the road, getting the Democrats to stall and to go further along in the process so that we get close to the election and nothing happens. This is what they want. They're seeing the fruits of their labor. When after the election, Republican state legislatures went right to work passing voter laws that restricted the right to vote.
Wait. Passed laws by a simple majority. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Yes. So the Democrats they're playing on defense based on threats that the Republicans might make, Roland, when they have to be able to be steadfast about a strategy from the very outset. What the Republicans doing, they're just basically legalizing 1-6, and they're making it acceptable. Even Ted Cruz took back and apologized for calling 1-6ers terrorists. And then you have now Ted Cruz calling any attempts to protect voting rights Jim Crow 2.0. How dare you, Ted Cruz, when what your party is doing is the embodiment of what Jim Crow 2.0 is. And they are now taking on the footsteps of Martin Luther King's birthday and turning that around and flipping the narrative as if they are the oppressed, insulting our intelligence and trying to cripple our democracy in the process.
Folks, here's some of what Vice President Kamala Harris had to say today in Atlanta.
Reached the United States Capitol, the President of the United States and I spoke from its hallowed halls, and we made clear we swore to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. And we will. We will fight. We will fight to safeguard our democracy. We will fight to secure our most fundamental freedom, the freedom to vote. And that is why we have come to Atlanta today, to the cradle of the civil rights movement, to the district that was represented by the great Congressman John Lewis, on the eve of the birthday of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. More than 55 years ago, men, women, and children marched from Selma to Montgomery to demand the ballot. And when they arrived at the state capitol in Alabama, Dr. King decried what he called normalcy. The normalcy, the complacency that was denying people the freedom to vote. The only normalcy anyone should accept, Dr. King said, is the normalcy of justice. And his words resonate today. Over the past few years, we have seen so many anti-voter laws that there is a danger of becoming accustomed to these laws, a danger of adjusting to these laws as though they are normal, a danger of being complacent, complicit. Anti-voter laws are not new in our nation, but we must not be deceived into thinking they are normal. We must not be deceived into thinking a law that makes it more difficult for students to vote is normal. We must not be deceived into thinking a law that makes it illegal to help a voter with a disability vote by mail is normal. There is nothing normal about a law that makes it illegal to pass out water or food to people standing in long voting lines.
And this is what the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda tweeted on yesterday. Back to Lincoln County today, we're still gathering petition signatures to stop the Board of Elections from closing 6 of 7 polling locations. And so while there are people who were critical of Black Voters Matter and other groups for not attending today's speech, they've made the point that their work continues, and that's what's going on. We're going to keep, of course, covering this story, see what happens over the next several days, but also be very mindful of Republicans who are going to be posting wonderful things about Dr. King on Monday, yet they'll be standing against the very things that he fought for. Be sure to call them out on social media. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?